What's up, guys? It's me, Do Not Obey, and let's get into another video. Now, we are in the book, The Navigator Who Crossed the Ice Walls. I will be reading some from the book and some from my notes due to copyright. Okay? So let's get into chapter 16, The Plan to Free the Human Being. While there was a direct plan to free the humans who were still trapped under the custodial yoke and manipulated since birth by the lie, it was very risky, as it could put a risk not only to the millions who lived within the walls, but also the ancestral human inhabitants of these lands and the beings of the neighboring lands. Butler arrived one morning to my office together with Fahil, and they told me that they had devised an alternative that could be effective. The custodians were strong in weapons and war strategies. They based their whole life on the development, but they had weaknesses like any race. And this could be found in the depth of their intelligence, not to be misunderstood. They were extremely intelligent beings and great caretakers of their colonies, especially the human, who would be the only being which they never released after several long recesses throughout history. But they found weak points where they could attack. Their fear could still be felt from the distance. They were not happy that ancestral humans and Anakim still existed around their most important colony. But they had not tried to attack our lands in these many years that had passed. That put us ahead. If they detested us, they had enough technology and military force to try to destroy us. What had led them not to make more attacks? The meeting with Fahil and Butler lasted more than 4 hours. They had developed a series of different plans that supplemented the previous ones in case of failure. All were based on attacking what was considered the weakness of the enemy. This was precisely their little or no spiritual development. Another great discovery was their radar system near the entrances to the known lands penetrating the dome. When an ancestral entered through known passages, small and even some large earthquakes were generated in surrounding areas. Makes you think about the earthquakes that we have out of nowhere. What if these are the people coming in and out? Just saying. It was an extreme surveillance system that put them on alert and sent support forces. For that reason, it was quite common that the earthquakes were almost always in the same area. And it was also the answer to why we were not sending more people for a long time. And those that were there did not return to continue collecting as much information as possible from day to day in the manipulated environment. I read that exactly how it was written. All right, guys. So let's get into these notes. The most important thing was to find another entrance, or they would try to create one. Okay, this is Butler, Fahil, and everybody trying to work to get us out up here. Okay, I hope they're still working. But they believed it was impossible to enter any dome by force. Plus, they couldn't use the portals either, because the portals now were controlled by the custodians, bitch ass, okay? Ugh. But they continued to study the closed zones, like, for years. I don't even say for years. Well, it could be for years. I don't know. They don't really explain it. They just said that they studied the zones until they were exhausted, okay? They did not want to generate floods. So they figured that if they were to try to take over the portal, and the portals were already connected to the custodians now, because custodians have their magic shit or whatever they're doing over it, right? That if you were to try to take a portal or just use any type of portal or create a portal, you can create floods, and major disasters. Now, it makes you think, like with all these weird floods and major disasters, what if? What if, guys? I'm just saying. Now, so they end up finding a way to create a portal or an opening by melting the ice slowly and safely. And the ice that I'm talking about is the ice wall that separates us from all these other wonderful lands, and we're stuck here like the effing Hunger Games, okay? Now, there was a place where this portal was, and this portal was called Summer Portal. Now, in summer, they had the technology of the ancient Anakim. Were there be even able to open up a portal or make one, it was still not confirmed, okay? But if it was possible, they would be able to send different ancestors into our lands. The ancestors could infiltrate important information from the ancestral lands. Try to let us know. You know how you see these people in the streets and you see people telling you things like me, or people on TV, or people that's been interviewed, and they're meant to look like, I guess they are meant to look like they're crazy or delusional, you know, tin-foil hat, conspiracy nuts, you know, flat earth dummies, you know, stuff like that. So they did come to try to tell us. I think a lot of them are still here. And they wanted to explain to us, the people, that there were lands behind the ice walls. But those that tried were locked up in institutions around our lands. Y'all remember that case a while back where that man, I did a video on it, where he said that he came from over the ice wall, that he was kicked out of the lands, and he was sent here. He was banished, and nobody believed him. And then that lady that went through the airport that had a whole ticket from her land, like exactly where she lives. And she ended up, I guess, they went over the ice wall, and they landed over here, and she wasn't supposed to land here. She's supposed to land somewhere, I guess, over there in her areas, but somehow they end up on our side of the ice wall. Ew. So, now, they also know that the great part of humanity, because of our conditioning now, there will be several generations that wouldn't believe them nor pay attention. And it's 2026, and we still have people to this day that still do not believe that there are beings here, that there are beings in the sky, that the government has been using ancient technology. They have never created anything. Everything that's ever been made on this planet was already created before. They just stole it. Now, because of our ignorance and our conditioning, okay, think about it. There's still a lot of people, like I said, don't think. It did buy them time to create more plans. But the plan would have to be done at the same time, on our side and on their side. So what they mean is, if they're working on the plan on their side of the ice wall, simultaneously, oh my God, I said it right, the other people on our side of the wall would have to be doing it at the same time. So they would have to be parallel on doing the same thing at the same time to create the same event. And it said that that was the stressful part. All right, let's get back into this book and in chapter 16. When the human being develops through different techniques implemented by the ancestors in the known lands and can block as much as possible the conditioning and therefore the mind manipulated by the custodial control, then it was going to be easier for many to open up the possibility that other realities existed outside the ice walls. We need to open our minds. These great ice walls would sooner or later become visible, and the genuine human expeditions would also collide with them. But it was well known from our lands that any idea of going beyond would surely be blocked by generating fear or directly by force through what they always use, military intervention. Chapter 16 is closed. Like I said, there's ways to get to that ice wall, underground, plane, portal, or a beam from there. The scary part is, are you going to make it there alive? So with that being said, I'm going to end chapter 16 because you already know how cruel these beings are. This is how I feel. There is no way that the people that run this planet, let alone the people that have wealth that can change this world, are human. There is no way. And if they are, they're either half-breeds. And if they are full-blooded humans, they are very selfish and cruel beings. Because there's no way that you can sit around and look at this whole dome or realm as a whole and have a soul and be okay with the way everybody's being treated, and everything that's going on as far as food, kids, islands, manipulation of music industry, movies, churches. Okay, so hope you guys did enjoy this video, and like I always say, do not obey, stay woke. Peace.